If you're an entrepreneur making videos consistently only to be deflated when it doesn't lead to consistent leads and clients, this video is for you. Because here's the uncomfortable truth no business owner really wants to face. You're probably optimizing your videos for vanity views, not business outcomes. And the two are completely different. Views don't pay the bills. I see it all the time. Business owners filming nonstop, chasing viral, chasing whatever the algorithm wants this week. And their content looks busy on their feeds, but their client roster, crickets. So today, I want to shift how you think about video entirely. Not as content you make, but as an asset you build. Because when video is done strategically, it goes from spray and pray to customer acquisition machine. And I want to walk you through the exact 3-step framework I use with my clients to turn their videos into conversion-driven content. This isn't about fancy equipment or viral tricks or buying the latest course that promises to get you millions of views. We're talking about strategic storytelling that actually moves people from casually watching your content to being desperate to work with you. Let's start with the mindset shift. Most people think video is about visibility, is about eyeballs. It's not. Video is about establishing trust. 71% of consumers say video is the best way to get to know a company. That means before anybody ever books a call, buys your course, or hires you, your video has to do the heavy lifting first. So the question is not, does this video get me enough views? It's, does this video move the right person closer to a decision? That's the lens we're using for everything that follows. So let's break this down into a framework because I know you love a good framework. Step 1 is the value declaration. This is where most videos go wrong right out of the gate. Everyone is obsessed with hooks, pattern interrupts, big openings, and those things are really important. I talk about them too. But if your viewer doesn't understand what transformation you're going to deliver or what they're going to learn within the first few seconds, none of that matters. So instead of obsessing over what's the best clever hook for this video, start with a value declaration. It's really the simplest thing you can do. So let's break this down. What is a value declaration? It's a clear, specific statement of what your product or service actually changes for someone. For example, this system helps business owners get 3 times more qualified leads without spending more on ads. Notice what that does. It immediately filters the audience so the right people self-select. In other words, the people who aren't the right fit are going to bounce. It tells the right people to stick around and the wrong people to keep on scrolling. And that is a good thing. You want the wrong people to skip your content. You don't want those views. You see, clarity converts better than being clever any day of the week. Stop trying to be so flowery with your language. Just say it straight. Be clear. Don't expect your viewers to just magically understand what you're selling when you're talking up here, saying really big, broad statements that really don't mean very much and don't have a lot of substance. When someone lands on your video, they should know exactly why they should keep watching, not eventually, but immediately, because the average human attention span is, well, video is not about entertaining everyone. Sure, you do want your videos to be engaging, obviously, but it's about attracting the right someone. So how do you attract the right people to your videos and keep them watching? That's where step 2 comes in, the emotional bridge. This is the part almost everybody skips. Most businesses jump straight from value to features, and that is where conversions go to die. People don't take action because they understand something logically. They take action because you help them feel something emotionally. Videos that evoke emotion are shared twice as often as purely informational content. But more importantly, emotion creates connection, and that creates trust, which in turn brings in the money. This is where you build the bridge between what you're offering and what your person genuinely wants and needs. So instead of listing features and what your product or service does, show what life looks like before and after. You may have heard of the saying, show, don't tell. That is critical when it comes to video, because if you're not actually showing visuals that help your viewer actually bring to life, bring to consciousness what it is that you're talking about in the abstract, you're going to leave it up to them to paint that picture in their minds. This is where using B-roll strategically is so critical. One of the biggest mistakes I see with my clients when I first start working with them is their tendency to wallpaper over their videos. They think, oh, I need some B roll. I should just throw in some shots here and there. But they don't properly time the B roll or select the right shots in the first place. You have to be extremely selective and strategic with what you're showing on the screen as you're talking about what you can do or what your product can do for your ideal client. So bring it to life for people. Talk about the frustration, but then show what it looks like. The late nights, the uncertainty, the feeling of doing everything right and still not getting results. Then you can show the turning point. You can show the payoff, what things look like or feel like when they finally do get the result that you're promising to help them with, whether it's with a product you're selling or the service that you offer. This is the moment your client realizes something could actually change, and then they get that relief of finally having clarity. This doesn't have to be dramatic. In fact, the more mundane and everyday relatable it is, the better. But it does need to be specific. This is where authenticity is so important because in an age of AI, authenticity beats polish every day of the week. Make no mistake, that doesn't mean that polished videos are bad. I take pride in my content having a certain look and feel, and I work really hard at that. But it's not a prerequisite to success in business. Simple talking head videos work just as well if you're being honest and authentic, and the value that you offer is truly what your ideal person is looking for. Flashy editing and graphics are great, but sometimes they can actually take away from the emotion and from what you're offering. So if stories and emotion are critical for success in business storytelling, where do you find these stories, especially if you don't think your life or your business are all that story worthy? Well, I want to challenge you on that. If you're struggling to find story ideas for your business, this should help. The tendency is to try to think of those epic things, those big life moments, those giant transformations. But sometimes the more mundane everyday stories, you at the grocery store, you taking your kids to school, that time you forgot your keys at home, or you forgot your wallet, or that time I dropped my wallet in the snow outside Costco and only found it an hour later. Yeah, thankfully nobody picked it up. But those things, those, oh my God, that's happened to me, or yeah, I can totally relate to that, or that happened to me yesterday. Those are the moments that your clients truly connect with you and you feel more relatable to them. Now, if you're someone who likes your videos to look a certain way and you don't want to have screw ups in your content and authenticity kind of makes you uncomfortable, think about it this way. You can still present yourself that way, but offer authenticity in your storytelling. So, for example, talk about your failures and your struggles just as much as your successes. Talk about times where you learned something about your product or service or improved it, or maybe even share a story of a negative testimonial that you got and what you did about it, or a client complaint. Those are good stories too, because they show your grit and they show that you're willing to really listen to and respond to your customers' needs, which addresses some of the common objections that people have when buying products or services, that maybe their concerns won't be answered, or maybe their disappointment will be met with crickets. Well, what happens then? Look for stories in your testimonials, in feedback emails, and pay attention to the emotional language. When you tell stories that mirror how your audience feels, you create a sense of being understood, and people just don't buy from people or brands that they don't feel understand them. All right, so you've done your homework, you've got the story, you've got the emotion, you've got all the ingredients. Now, how do you get them over the line? How do you turn someone from a viewer into a buyer? That is step 3, the inevitable choice. This is where your video becomes a business tool. Most people end their videos with a soft call to action, like subscribe, or let me know what you think, or follow for more tips, or click the link in bio. You're not really telling people what you want them to do. You're just giving them a vague suggestion of what to do next. If you send them to a link tree with a ton of links in it, they're not going to know where to click, and they'll probably bounce without clicking anything. Instead, your videos should end with a clear crossroads. You want your viewer to see 2 different futures. One where they continue doing what they're doing right now, and one where they choose your solution. It's not about being pushy or salesy. I know I felt a bit uneasy about this when I first learned it, because I thought, oh no, but am I pressuring people? Or, am I going to sound too salesy? The answer is no, because if you feel that you have to convince people, then you probably haven't done a really good job of explaining the benefits and the outcome of working with you. Remember, the basic human nature is to pursue pleasure and avoid pain. So when someone sees a clear choice between staying where they are and getting to where they want to go, Your only job is to remove the obstacles in the way and show them how they can get that result with you. When someone can see themselves on the other side, the conversation happens naturally. When these three elements I outlined work together, your videos stop being random stream of consciousness content or your typical formulaic sales content and start functioning as a system. The value declaration attracts the right person, the emotional bridge builds trust and resonance, and the inevitable choice framework guides them forward to the choice that is you. This may not happen in one video or two or even 10. Sometimes you really need to nurture your audience for a period of time before they're ready to take that next step. But do be sure to respond to their comments. Be a human being. People want to be heard and understood. And they may have really great questions and suggestions. I've seen it consistently. Businesses that use structured storytelling that is deliberate but doesn't feel forced are the ones that get the most leads and the most sales from their videos. If you stick with it and you follow this strategy, it will start to happen for you. And the best part is, none of this involves spending money on fancy gear or studios or an expensive YouTube production team. So if your videos have been feeling like a lot of effort with very little to no return, this is your invitation to start thinking differently about how you're making them. Stop making content and start building business assets that sell for you even while you're not online. The goal here is not just more videos, it's more videos that get your people closer to working with you. Otherwise, why are you making them? If you want help applying this framework to your videos, let me know in the comments, what is it that you're offering and where are you getting stuck with video? I'll use your feedback to make more content for you to teach you about video storytelling for business. And if you want to go deeper with me on strategic video storytelling that actually converts, I'll link some resources in the comments. The most important skill that you can master in your marketing journey is how to be a good storyteller. So I highly suggest you watch this video next.